Welcome to another episode. Thank you for listening. These are original stories that I write to empower good relationships that not only awaken self-awareness and accountability, but inspire you to love again. Enjoy the story of today.
Keller looked different to me now, more like a man than the boy I had grown up with. His broad shoulders seemed more defined, his stance more confident, more powerful. The way his shirt clung to his muscular frame made me hyper aware of his strength, the same strength I had felt wrapped around me just days ago. It made me wish I had enjoyed more of his body. And then he licked his lips, the same lips that had devoured mine in the heat of passion. My breath caught in my throat. A war raged inside of me. Part of me wanted to run straight into his arms, to let him hold me and tell me that what we had shared wasn't a mistake, that it was the beginning of something meant to be, that it had always been us. But the other part of me, the part ruled by fear, made me look away. I forced my legs to move, stepping forward and placing the salad quietly on the table. Without another word, I turned and walked back inside. I barely made it past the doorway before I felt it. His presence, his shadow looming behind me. Then his touch, a light but firm grip on my wrist. I didn't need to turn around to know it was Keller. My mother was outside now, lost in conversation with the others. It was just the two of us in the house. Silence stretched between us like an invisible rope, pulling us towards an inevitable confrontation. I wanted to keep walking. I wanted to pretend like none of this had happened. But Keller had other plans. He spun me around gently, forcing me to face him. His eyes locked into mine. For a moment, neither of us spoke, trapped in a staring match filled with unspoken words. Then, breaking the silence, my voice came low and in control, barely above a whisper. Whatever we spoke about had to stay between us. I don't know how Keller's dad and my stepdad would react if they even thought Keller had hurt me. Then the whole family would get involved, and it could ruin the community that had been built around us. It's been a week, Keller, and I haven't heard from you. Keller looked down, avoiding eye contact. It's not like that, Sonny, he replied, his tone quieter than mine. Then what is it like, Keller? I demanded, my voice rising. We crossed over to a new level in our relationship, and you can't even talk to me about it. The words came out sharper than I intended, but I couldn't hold back. We stood facing each other, the tension thick in the air, neither of us willing to back down. He ran a hand over his newly braided hair, trying to find the right words. I don't want this thing to change our relationship, he said, his voice strained. My emotions were all over the place after the game. I really did need you. So you wanted to take advantage of my emotions and me like all of those other girls who fawn and swoon over you? My temperature was rising, and so was my voice. I saw Cameron glance over in our direction. Keller threw up his hands. Come on, Sonny. You know that wasn't my plan. We just took things further than we should have. I could feel the annoyance bubbling inside me. Well, Keller, it's too late for that now. Things have changed, and we need to face it if we're going to move forward. I said, my frustration clear in my tone. His words sounded like he was trying to backpedal, as if it was all some mistake he could just erase. But it wasn't that simple. Keller stepped forward slightly, his eyes meeting mine again. Look, Sonny, I'm sorry, he said, his voice low. His apology felt like a cold splash of water, and for a moment I wasn't sure how to respond. It wasn't about the kiss anymore. It was about the way things had changed, the way the balance between us had shifted without either of us fully understanding what it meant. I had never seen him like this before, distant, unsure. It made everything feel so much more complicated. I never meant for things to get out of hand like that. I never meant to kiss you, and I, Keller continued before I cut him off, and fill me up. Look at my naked body? Take my virginity? My voice reached a pitch I never thought it could reach. Our families were right outside the door. What? Keller said, taken aback. That's not what I'm saying, Sonny. I didn't want to hurt you. This is exactly what I was trying to avoid. He let out a frustrated snort. Just as I was about to respond to Keller's attitude, Cameron, Keller's sister, walked into a tension-filled room. Everything okay, guys? Y'all are acting really strange today, she said, sensing something was off.
Sorry for the break in the story, but if you are enjoying what you hear, please hit the like and subscribe button and share this with your friends. These are inspiring, original stories about relationships that are good and wholesome for the heart. Now back to the story. Keller shrugged, clearly trying to deflect. I'm good. Sonny just mad because she talking about her boyfriend, and I think he's using her. I stayed silent, and Cameron picked up on the tension immediately. You good, sis? She asked, her voice softening. Cameron had always called me her sister, since I was the only girl who spent so much time at their house. I never lied to Cameron, and I didn't want to start now, but I also wasn't ready to open up about what had happened between Keller and me. Tears stung my eyes, and I looked at her, struggling to find the right words. I'm not ready to talk about it just yet. Can we do a date this week? My voice broke as I spoke, betraying the emotions I had been trying to hide. Cameron looked at me with understanding in her eyes. Of course. No problem, she said, nodding. I gathered my things and grabbed my plate from the fridge, preparing to leave. Will you tell my parents I'll see them tomorrow? I have something I need to attend to, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I kissed Cameron on the cheek and gave her a quick hug before heading out the door. As I stepped outside, the heat of the sun seemed to burn even hotter against my already burning heart. It burned from Keller's words of uncertainty and what felt like a mistake that could change our relationship forever. I needed to rid myself of the feeling that I was possibly losing the most loyal friend I had ever known. Since we met, Keller and I have always shared a bond. It was like a frequency that couldn't be explained, one that only the two of us seemed to understand. Keller felt it too, and he was affected by the tension of that day, just as much as I was. Everything he said came out wrong, and I could feel myself growing more and more frustrated with every word. His words felt unworthy of my love. Sonny hadn't heard from Brenton since he didn't get tickets to the Super Bowl. Keller was right. Brenton liked the perks that came with the relationship, but not the substance. It wasn't about the bedroom either, although I wish it were. Brenton was fine in every way. Women would stare at us, and I could read their eyes. Brenton told me not to worry because he thought I was the most beautiful good girl he'd ever seen. He knew I was a virgin. Most of the 25-year-olds I knew had been in a few bedrooms with stars and athletes. Brenton had tried a few times, but it never felt like the right moment for me. I realized we were together out of convenience, nothing more. We looked great together at premieres and social gatherings, but that's where the illusion ended. Brenton wasn't bad on the eyes, but his attention often wandered. Sunny had caught him slipping out of dark places with some groupies, but she didn't care. She only needed someone to make it seem like she wasn't just Keller's puppy in the eyes of everyone else. She preferred to keep her real feelings private. Being Keller's friend had been fun, and when he hit it big, she figured he'd need to be seen with one of those public girls. She always held him down in the shadows, though. When he needed emotional support, he didn't turn to any of those women. He called her. Sunny began to see a troubling pattern in her relationships. Over the years, she had allowed men to take advantage of her, each time convincing herself it was for a reason, whether it was to protect her own insecurities or to avoid feeling alone. With Brenton, it had been no different. She told herself that their relationship made sense. They looked good together, and he provided a certain level of comfort. But deep down, she knew she was just going through the motions. She'd always been the one to give. She gave her time, her energy, her support, but never seemed to get much in return. Men were drawn to her for what she represented, someone who was strong, self-sufficient, and easy to be around. They took, but they rarely gave anything back. Brenton was a prime example. He wanted the perks of the relationship, the social gatherings, the red carpets, the image, but when it came to being there for her in meaningful ways, he was absent. And it wasn't just Brenton. She thought back to her past relationships and realized she had always been the one to make it work. She let herself be a placeholder, someone men could rely on for validation, but not someone they actually invested in. She had convinced herself she wasn't asking for too much, but the truth was she had been giving more than she should have. Sunny realized now that she'd been trying to fill a void with affection and attention. But the reality was these men never truly saw her. They saw the image she projected, but not the woman behind it. It was easier for her to let them use her, to stay in the shadows of their lives, than to risk confronting the truth. She deserved more. As the days passed, it hit her harder. She had allowed herself to be the background character in her own life, always there for others, never asking for much in return. And yet, when she took a moment to step back, she felt empty. It was exhausting. She didn't want to be a token girlfriend or a shoulder to lean on when it was convenient. She wanted to be valued, loved, and seen for who she truly was without all the conditions. The realization stung, but it also empowered her. She finally understood that she needed to stop letting men use her as a safety net or an accessory. She deserved more than just the scrapes they gave her when they needed her to fill a gap. It was time for her to take back control and set boundaries. It was time for her to stop allowing herself to be an afterthought in someone else's life.